Welcome to our Sunday morning chat, everyone. We always have a few challenges. I think life is what happens when we have other plans. So I'm very happy to see those whom I can see for all of you to join us. And the purpose of this morning chat is to share some ideas of things I have learned that is helpful to us in everyday life. My other chats are classes I teach about my work. This is something I'd like to share with whoever wants to spend the time with us, because over so many years of teaching and working with people in my attempt to promote good health, I have learned many things. And so the title of this chat is called Small Ideas, Big Changes. In the work I've done most of my professional life, I've learned some things that are very useful. And I've seen that in applying some of these small ideas have evoked big changes in people's lives. The purpose of my work is to help people become a little healthier and a little happier after they interact with me. That's my goal. I don't plan to change the whole world. I don't plan to change your entire life in one encounter. But I do hope, and I don't want to use the word hope, I do trust that if you take with you the small nuggets of information I have to share and apply it to your life in your own unique way, it will make big changes for you, if that's what you desire. Changes that will help you become a healthier individual, or a happier individual, or both. I don't prepare for this in the sense of having an agenda or a script. I come to the table with an empty mind, and when I ding the bowl, I'm asking the universe to put in my mouth the things I need to share. I think right now around the world, people are very stressed out. Look around us. I know that stress is part of life. As I say, if one mosquito bites us, it's not a problem. 2 or 3 or 4 mosquito bites you, it may be a bit of a nuisance. You want to scratch here and you want to scratch there. However, if 100 mosquitoes descend upon you and bite you all together all at once, it could paralyze you. So really, the stress that we experience is because we are overwhelmed. Too many problems, not enough time. That's why we stress out. So coming back down to what is stress, stress is fear. Stress is when you have too many things happening in a very small piece of time. And what happens is fear kicks in and you're scared. Oh my gosh. Now, mind you, what I'm saying now happens in super fast speed. And it's like, I can't do this, I can't accomplish this. If I can't accomplish this, I'm going to lose my job, lose my house, lose my car, lose my gun, and I'll be the homeless guy in the street. What I call the bad country western song. Except that all this is happening so quickly that you do not have the time or the luxury to figure out a creative solution. So you act in irrational ways. You make choices that are not in your own best interest. Most bad decisions are made from a position of fear. Right? You want to turn this corner because you think it's going to get you there faster, but maybe the road has more potholes in it and you end up with a flat tire and you never get there in the end. So we have to look at it before we get into the stressful situation, because the minute we get in a stressful situation, you have no more time to think. Your subconscious mind kicks in, your reptilian brain kicks in, and you don't know how to respond correctly. Now, if you look at people in tactical situations, Navy SEALs and Gilbert's team on the hostage negotiation teams, they act in a certain way during stressful situations. Those behaviors are unnatural because we normally don't know how to behave like that under stress. They know because they have been trained. They practice and they practice and they practice and they practice. And so when an extraordinary situation happens, they know how to behave. Our doctors in emergency rooms, they are trained to respond to those extraordinary circumstances. People don't normally show up with a broken bone sticking out of their chest or whatever. Those are extraordinary circumstances. You and I normally, who are not trained to attend to those things, don't know what to do. So how do we deal with stress is to know that we need to respond in extraordinary ways to extraordinary circumstance. But most of us are not trained to respond like that. We are born with certain natural responses. Stick your hand in the fire. You have pain receptors. It doesn't feel good, and you automatically know how to remove your hand from the fire. Who trained you to do that? Nobody. You are wired to protect yourself. So in day-to-day stressful circumstance, we have to understand if we are not trained to respond, but in subconscious ways, that may not always be the good thing to do, because you are always operating at very high gear and your body will break at some point. So we have to learn how to have downtime so that when the uptime comes, we have the energy to respond. And today I want to take the stress to what is most common in the crisis right now. If somebody comes over and slaps you on the face, what happens? Somebody comes over and for no reason slap you smack on the face. What's your immediate reaction? You want to slap back, right? Isn't it? I slap you, you slap me. And that's a normal reaction. Maybe if we are trained that that may not be the best solution, you might be able to take a deep breath. As some people have learned in the Bible, you turn the other cheek. How many of us do that? That may be a better solution, but we've not been taught how to do that. So what we want to do that helps us is to teach ourselves what I call emotional health. Right now, everybody all over the world is undergoing very high stress in their lives. Stress is an emotional first response, and then it becomes a physical response. Sometimes it goes back and forth very quickly. And the cure to this is not emotional, it's not physical. To me, the cure to stress is spiritual. Now, isn't that interesting? Stress happens to us because we have this deep fear of not being good enough, this deep fear of being unloved, this fear of I don't belong. And so every little thing that happens, it kicks back to I don't belong, I'm not good enough. And there's nothing that is more scary to anyone. We become that little baby. Nobody wants us. Everybody is not smiling at me. Nobody loves me. And it's a feeling of isolation. It's a feeling of loneliness. It's like a deep hole in your soul that nothing can fill. You feel empty. You feel this void. Now, if we can fill that hole with the right kind of spirit, not the kind that comes in a bottle, and not the kind that comes in a big plate of French fries, or chocolate, or ice cream, or drugs, or some people fill that void by inflicting pain on other people. So we are filling that void with the wrong things, and it may help you just for an instant. But in the long run, when you get through that moment, it feels worse. You create a bigger hole. So what I want to talk about today is how can we eliminate that hole? If we don't have a hole, you don't have to fill it with anything, right? Right. How do we not have a big hole in our soul? Is to fill it with the right spirit. And I find that what is most helpful is to find something. Everyone needs to find a safe harbor to go to. Find something within you to assure you at all times, no matter what, you're good enough. And if you take a moment and not jump into the fire every time there's a fire, to take 2 steps back and hold the time still for a moment, you will find a solution if you don't panic. Panic is when all the mosquitoes descend on you at the same time and you don't know what to do. Now, what happens when people are really stressed out? What's the first thing that happens to us physically? We stop breathing. You know, when you're scared, you stop breathing. And now you have just initiated an avalanche of disaster within your body. You stop breathing, you don't put enough oxygen in your brain. Now you can't use your brain to compute a solution to your problem. And then you stop breathing further. And soon you get oxygen deprived, and then your brain will work in strange ways. None of those things will help you find a peaceful solution to whatever problem it is. Now, physical stress is easy to detect, right? A beam falls on your shoulder. It hurts. It's very easy. Remove the beam. Now, today's small idea is one word. Everybody remembers this word that most people, when we grow up, we have forgotten how to say it. And the word is ouch. Children know how to say it. Somehow when we grow up, we have been taught it is not appropriate to say ouch when you're hurt. It seems like polite society accept that when you accidentally step on something that hurts your foot, you say ow, ouch, or somebody comes and slaps you, you say ouch. And it's acceptable, it's appropriate. But when you are hurt in your heart, when you are hurt emotionally, most people don't recognize it, don't want to recognize it, don't want to acknowledge it. And even if they do, don't know how to express it. And when you are hurt and you express that pain inappropriately, that's where we have problems. A long time ago, when I taught a class, I had a class of students and I say, write down 101 ways to say you're angry. So the students came back a few days later with pages. They have to number 1 to 101 the ways to express they are angry. So I said, exchange your papers with your neighbor, and I want you to take a red pen and circle all the statements that indicate causing harm to another person. And then take a blue pen and underline all the statements that indicate causing harm to yourself. And then take a green pen and check out all the statements that don't say anything about causing hurt to anyone. Wow, it was a very interesting and enlightening piece of exercise. Most people have most of their statements when they are angry, they want to hurt somebody else. I had one student, 99 out of 101 statements indicate causing hurt to another person. You know, if she is angry, you don't want to be in her airspace. And then there are a few statements that will say cause hurt to themselves. There were very few statements that are creative solutions of appropriate expression of anger. When we are angry, we want to hurt somebody. That's why we have so much violence in the world. We want to blame somebody for our pain, and we don't want to take responsibility for our part in that pain. But I think the most important piece is to own the pain. Before we can own the problem, we cannot solve the problem. I think for me, one of the biggest turning points in my life is to own the problem. When I was younger, there were, of course, many things in my life that didn't work out the way I had hoped. And I was a very angry woman. I would rage. I would be so angry. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. Until one day, a wise person asked me, Kuitai, what part of that equation do you own? Meaning, what responsibility do you bear in that emotion? You know, the whole world is not against you. So if you bring upon yourself, well, that's the hardest thing is you bring upon yourself your own suffering. That was something that is very difficult to bear. Everything that doesn't work in my life, what part do I own? And that is very, very important. Because if I don't own any part of this situation, then I have zero power in disowning it. So the first part to change is awareness. And today's small idea is the word ouch. It's easy to identify physical pain. Most of us find it very difficult to identify emotional pain. We sort of kind of know it. Have you ever walked away from a situation when you said, wow, what just happened there? I felt like somebody just slapped me in the face and I didn't know what to do. I was numb. I just froze. I was so shocked that he would do such a thing to me that I am just frozen. And I couldn't say a word. I didn't know what word to say. Because we grow up not having emotional education. We don't have the vocabulary for our feelings. And we don't know when it is appropriate to cry. We don't care when we're laughing. And even so, we have to stifle our laughter sometimes because it's not appropriate to laugh. It's not appropriate to feel, because when you're sad and you're angry and people say, oh, you shouldn't feel sad, they tell you what you should or shouldn't feel. So today's small idea is the word ouch. Everyone say to yourself, ouch. That accounts for all the times you should have said it and you didn't say it. And from now on, you're going to learn how to say ouch. And trust me, I'd love to hear back from you, by email or so. Practice this today. Somebody hurts your feelings. What do you say? We say ouch. That's a very good first step. What happens when you say ouch, when somebody is saying something mean to you, and people can be very subtle, they would be sarcastic about things, but they're all grounded in fear. And they all have bad intentions if it is based on fear. And they inflict this emotional slap in the face to you. And you know what? If we don't say ouch, they feel it's okay. You give them permission to inflict more emotional pain on you. Well, it's not acceptable. So the word ouch is the first very powerful word to stop the craziness, to stop the bully. That person needs to know who you are, that your feelings are valid. So if somebody is saying nasty things to you, even at a board meeting or whatever situation you find yourself in, or if your boyfriend or your spouse is being mean to you, or your mother-in-law is saying something nasty to you, you say, ouch. That's all you have to say for now. Ouch. And then they go, oh my God, what do I say next? I said, say ouch and then take a deep breath. Ouch. When you do that, in NLP language, we call it what? Breaking state, right? Here's this person on this train of throwing bad words at you, and you say, ouch. You immediately stop that energy. You break state. You break state for yourself. You break state for your other person. And suddenly, you have demanded a small space of T0 of time right now. Ouch. So you acknowledge that you don't like it. You acknowledge that it hurts you. And it helps the other person to acknowledge that it's not acceptable. Now, when you take that next breath after you say ouch, it's going to be a very long breath. Because a couple things can happen. The other person says, oh, goody, goody, she's hurting. I want to inflict pain. So I'm going to do it some more. The next step depends on you. When you said ouch and you stop the situation for the moment, this is the time to claim that space and claim that power to do what you want to do. So the very first small idea that's going to lead to a big change is that word ouch, because the word ouch breaks state. And of course, there's a whole other area of developing your own validation that you are a valid individual, that you matter. Then you step forward and say what you want. All right, what's the first thing you want that person to do who's hurting you? You stop. You go, ouch, stop. Next little word that has a big impact. Stop it. I have to give you a real life situation. This was a long time ago, long time before I learned hypnotherapy. It was my first job interview after my PhD, and it was a job 2 hours drive from where I lived. And a friend of mine happens to have a meeting there in Columbus, Ohio, and she said, I'll drive and give you a ride to your job interview. So I went to the job interview at 3 o'clock, and I was done, and I was standing outside the building waiting for my friend to show. She was at her client's office, and now it's 5 o'clock. And all the offices are closed, and people are going home. And now it's 6 o'clock. I'm still standing in the street corner waiting for my friend. This was before we had cell phone. Walked up the street, and there was a man in a kiosk in the parking lot. I figured if I gave him $5, he would probably give me a chance to use his phone to make a local call. And so I made a local call to the office, and the office was closed. I couldn't reach my friend. It's a 2.5 hour drive home. And so now I'm standing in this street corner in a busy city, and it was empty. Nobody around. And I was getting a bit concerned. And then down the hill, I saw a man coming towards me, a tall, dark man in dirty clothes, and he started to approach me. Now he's in talking distance in front of me, and he said, I'm not a murderer. Those are his exact words. I'm not a murderer. I'm not a rapist. And I go, oh, thanks for sharing that. I was starting to get really scared. And he said, I've been walking for the last 2 days. Can you give me some money? So he started to reach out to my purse. I had my purse slung across my shoulder. And when he reached out closer enough to me, I could smell his breath. He was drunk. Now I'm really scared. He said, give me some money. I was standing there wondering what I'm going to do. No point in screaming. There's no one to hear me. It's him or me. He was at least a foot taller than me and bigger. And so I, out of instinct or whatever it was, I took a deep breath and I looked straight in his eyes and I said, stop. I didn't know what else to say next. I just said, stop. And I took a deep breath. And then he looked at me and he stopped approaching me when I said stop. And I said, this is what I want you to do. I said, I'm going to count to 3. When I get to 3, you're going to turn around and keep walking in the opposite direction and don't look back. So 1, 2, 3, turn around, go away. I wasn't thinking. I was scared to death. So guess what happened? The man did exactly that. I must have hypnotized him because he did turn around and he kept walking in the opposite direction. And 2 minutes later, my friend's car came down the hill. I jumped into her car, and you do not want to hear the words I said to my friend. Where the blankety blank have you been? I am scared to death. I was screaming and crying in the car. I was so scared. Now, what did I learn from that? A small little experience, but it has a big impact on my life. And today, many, many years later, I'm talking about it. So what happened there? In that instinct, when I said stop, I broke state for him. I broke state for me. I was just so scared. I didn't know what else to do. And the only logical thing is, I'm just so scared. I want you to stop whatever you're doing, turn around and go away. That was exactly what I wanted him to do. And that's exactly what I told him to do. And boom, he was gone. Magic, isn't it? Fast forward, 30 years later? I'm doing exactly that, teaching people how to break state. This little word of acknowledging how you feel. I did not say ouch because it didn't hurt me, right? I did say stop because I was so scared. And then you take a breath. That moment, that breath that you take is extraordinary behavior. It's unnatural behavior because your natural body's response is to stop breathing when you're scared. You go, and you don't breathe. But instead, I say, stop. I take a deep breath. In that moment, that gesture of taking the deep breath, we nurture our bodies. We send oxygen to the brain. And in that split moment, my brain says, tell him to go away. Because I really don't want him to be there in front of me. I said, stop, go away. And better yet, if you give them very clear, specific, positive directions out to the hand, right? Say, stop. I want you. So the I want you statement is very important. What do you want? I want you to turn around and walk away. I'm going to give you 3 counts. So my directions were very clear, very specific. And in that moment, God help me then. Those words were said with authority and conviction because God helped me at that moment. That is all I could do. If only he would turn around and walk away, I wouldn't be this scared. I was scared. Why? I was scared that he would physically hurt me. I didn't care about the money. I didn't have any money anyway. He can have my purse. It wasn't a designer purse. I don't own a designer purse, but he can have the money. But I was afraid that he would hurt me. So it was out of instinct. But if we learn ahead of time to know what ouch means, hopefully today you walk away with one small word, ouch, that's going to make a huge impact in your life. You say ouch to people who hurt you physically, emotionally, and people say nasty things to you. Ouch simply says, I want it to stop. This is not a good feeling. I don't want it, and I want you to stop. The next step is, When you stop that crazy train running at you, you then have time to take a deep breath. Better yet, take 3. Help yourself. Take 3 deep breaths and step away from the train. Right? So now today, if I was to train people in self-defense, I would say first say, ouch, stop, take 2 steps backwards and take 3 deep breaths. That will save your life. Get out of the way and then give yourself a moment and replenish the oxygen in your brain, and you in your own creative intelligence will give you the right way to step away from harm's way and be safe. Of course, there's a whole list of things that I do in teaching clients how to achieve better emotional health. Emotional health is our ability to say how we feel to the person who needs to hear it at the time you need to say it and not delay it. Don't you just hate it when you get in a situation and people say things and you walk away and you say, whoa, what just happened? He just insulted me, and you did not know how to respond. And then you go home and you call all your girlfriends and you have a pity party and you tell the story 10 times over and have all your friends be mad at that person. You know what? It really doesn't help you one bit. Because when you see that person again, he's going to do exactly the same thing over, because that person never got the message that it's not acceptable to do that behavior towards you. And all your 11 girlfriends are not there to defend you. Doesn't work. The only person who can save you is you. You must claim that power back, and you must tell the person, this is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. Ouch. It hurts me, and I want you to stop. Now, if all our children grow up with simply that small thing, somehow, you know, a young child, if he trips and falls, he would wince. And when he has words, he will say, ow. Somehow between then and where we are now, we've lost that language skill. And it's actually not the language skill that we have lost. We have removed that permission to speak. Many a times I work with clients and they would say something like, I didn't know I could do that. Somehow this process gave me permission to say ow. I said, wow. I said, don't give me that power. That power is yours. You can take back that power and give yourself permission to feel. Give yourself permission to cry. Give yourself permission to laugh. And besides, you're grown up, you don't owe anybody an explanation. That will be another idea for another day. But right here, right now, if it doesn't feel good, say ouch. Then take a deep breath and step away and give yourself a moment to process. There's a big difference between reacting and responding. The reaction would be, you slap me, I slap you back. That's, you know, that's an immediate reaction. But if the person slaps you and you don't step back, you don't slap back, you take a step backwards and you take 3 deep breaths, maybe a better solution is not to slap back. Maybe a solution would be to help this person be less fearful. Anger is an easier emotion to feel than grief. And anger seems always to have a reason. And an angry person will look for more reasons to be angry, and they feel very justified. It's your fault. You did this to me, da, 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 da. Look where the fingers are pointing. The fingers are always pointing at somebody else, but not recognizing that 3 fingers always point backwards towards you. People forget, if I point you see the 3 fingers are pointing back towards me. I should bear 3 times the responsibility of this equation than you. But most people don't want to take that responsibility, and they don't want to acknowledge that they have the power to change. This is my small idea today, the small idea of ouch, and how it can reclaim big power for you. And it would help you prevent unnecessary stress, and it will help you cope with current crisis situation. Small idea. I hope in a big way it will help you out.
It just this weekend I've been seeing a lot of that anger coming out. I think everyone just needs to learn how to say ouch. Yeah,
So
ouch, that hurts.
So you find that this little idea could be useful for you?
Yeah.
Good.
I agree so much. Just that little message, because for myself, for others, it stops it right then. And like you said, calling up your girlfriend and talking about it doesn't help any. And so it makes sense. Okay, let's deal with it now, whatever it is. And I've become much stronger since I've worked with you. So I think I'm almost there, but this just tops it off.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, a very powerful, message. But only my worry is that when you say stop, I mean, you know the reality, what it is, right? So you don't want to accept that reality. I mean, you know it's happening to you. You know it's fact. But by saying that, but you're really making it obvious, and then you don't want to accept that because it's the reality. But just tell them, how do you sort of overcome? You know that it's when you feel that, when you have to say ouch, just stop. You know that's happening to you, but you don't want that to. You don't want to accept that reality. But you let it happen to you because I mean, is that something that you think it's to tolerate for some more time and say, okay, it's only one time, and then move on, or what do you advise?
Well, I think when we say stop, we're dealing with what I call time zero. Is at the moment. It's one small step at a time. If you've never said stop to this person who has been abusing you in that way, it's a good start to say stop.
Okay.
And then the next step, right? Because you asked, I'm going to say, it's not enough to say stop, but it's a good start. You stop that energy, you break that state, then you take 2 steps back and you take 3 deep breaths. When you take the 3 deep breaths, you will fill that space with oxygen. And then now the next step is, which will require quite a bit of training. That's what I do with my clients. I teach them, I coach them in ways to express yourself differently now, to be assertive, how you assert yourself, and you know what you want and be able to ask for it. So I say, stop, ouch, stop doing that. The next step is, I would say, when you do this to me, I feel, and you want to own that feeling. That this is a training. I'm just simplifying it in one sentence, but I spend a lot of time training my client how to do assertive language. So you want to tell the person, when you are doing this to me, I feel, right? You own that feeling. I feel this. I don't like this feeling. I want you to stop. And now the next step is your solution. In future, after this, if you continue to do this to me, I will. And that is the decision. That is the solution you create for yourself. And that piece takes a lot of work in that. What are you willing to do to walk away from that situation? If you continue to do this to me, I shall never go out to dinner with you again. If it is that kind of friend. You know how sometimes you go out with a group of friends and they do things and you don't like. So you have a choice. I am going to exercise that option of not wanting to go out with you. I would be insane to go out with you all the time and have you do this to me and create this feeling I don't like. I have choice. I don't have to go out with you, or I don't have to do this with you. So that last piece is the brainstorm, that solution of the behavior you want to engage in. and you are setting boundaries. I will not allow this to happen again. If you do so, I shall do this. This is not a threat. Do not threaten. Do not say you will do something that you're not willing to carry out. So that would be another step to do in another small step. Sometimes a small step is to just take a step away. Sometimes the small step would be, you know, if you are, well, what I learned in martial arts, when somebody is rushing with a big fist to punch you, you don't stand directly to receive the punch. All I have to do is step aside, put my foot out and trip him, and his own momentum will bring him to the ground. Small effort, big result. If you'd like to join me in a small meditation, here we go. Sit back, relax, and take a deep breath. Breathe in and out. Pay attention to your breath. Breathe in slowly and making the effort to fill your lungs entirely with fresh oxygen. Breathe in and breathe out all the unwanted waste that comes out of your body. Breathe in love. Breathe out stress and fear. As you continue to breathe easily and normally, feel your body relaxing, relaxing, relaxing. And notice how good it feels to be totally relaxed. And now allowing that ray of light coming from heaven, touching you on your head and flushing through your consciousness, pushing out all doubts and fears. And know that all problems have solutions. You may not see it right now. The solutions are out there. If not today, tomorrow. But today, right here, right now, you can choose to be at peace with yourself. Breathe in and out. And feel the light infusing your entire body. Filling every cell and muscle fiber with love and peace and blessings. And knowing that just the way you are loved, you are lovable, and you're part of God's universe, and you matter. Take a deep breath and just let this energy go through you and know that you are well and you are good enough. Take this feeling of peace and tranquility and hold it to your heart and let it expand beyond your skin, fill your home, fill your neighborhood, fill your town, fill your country, and stretch it out to envelop the entire globe and send love and healing to everyone that needs it. Breathe in and out. Feel this peace and gently open your eyes and stretch. Okay, I hope in a small way this is helpful, and we'll see you again next Sunday. Join us, invite your friends to join us. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Dr. Kuitai.
Thank you, Dr. Kuitai.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Hi, Ben.
Thank you, Sifu.
Thank you. Thank you.